Kia ora, good evening. Southland was one of just 2 of 12 regions throughout the country to record increased house sales last month, which were up 61.9% on February last year.
Overall, New Zealand property sales fell 7.6% in February on a year ago, which could indicate mortgage lending restrictions are hindering first-time home buyers, according to the Real Estate Institute of New Zealand. It's the third successive month sales volumes have fallen following the introduction of mortgage lending restrictions to cool the property market in October last year. Overall, houses worth less than $400,000, a key market for first-time home buyers, fell by 18%, while median house prices have continued to slowly rise, up 9% to $415,000. Analysts expect interest rates to rise in the near future, making it more expensive to own a new home.
Every 2 weeks, a child is hospitalised with serious injuries received from a vehicle driving on a private driveway in New Zealand. A further 5 children are killed on average each year in the same way. Improving property design so driveways can be fenced to keep play areas separate, self-closing gates and safe turning areas are all concepts that could help mitigate risk of driveway injuries to children. Locally, there's a kit that's used to educate drivers on the risk of poor visibility of children in vehicles. Road Safety Southland say it's a great learning tool that's in demand.
It's just been to field days with us, it's been to Kids Day. We take it for our Bright Sparks program, which hits every kindy in Southland. So it is here available, and you can contact Plunkett. I know several schools have contacted me recently to access the kit, put it behind any car, and it's available for any group to see and use and experience. And the idea is that we get to see how vulnerable these little kids are. People just need to sit in the seat of the car and just have a look out their windows and see their blind spots and what they cannot see behind them. It's really frightening.
What is the reaction from parents when they see this kit and they attempt to reverse and perhaps don't see?
They're staggered at what little they can see. Absolutely, and they're good drivers, they've been driving for decades, and yet they cannot see what's directly behind them. In fact, I've taken this to schools before and have hidden a class of 30 behind a vehicle, just a little vehicle like the one behind us. So it is staggering how blind you are.
The size of the children up to about 4 years old, there is a big difference in the number of children that are killed at that age group. Why is that?
See, these little children, say 0 to 4, are really the most vulnerable because of a variety of reasons. They can't judge speed or distance. They really have trouble focusing on the origin of sound, like a car starting up. They get easily distracted. They're just so, their blinkers are on, say if a ball is in the driveway or rolling out into the street. That's what they tend to narrow in on. So for a whole lot of reasons, they're the most vulnerable.
As far as visibility in vehicles goes these days, has it got worse, do you think?
I think so. Look, we're seeing that whole increase in what is cool for a family car now. So you've got the big people movers and you've got the SRVs, and they're just commonplace around town now, bigger, wider, taller. It really increases the risk of children anywhere near or around that vehicle.
And also urban design in family properties, if you have a driveway right next to a play area. Currently we don't have any fencing rules around driveways. Is that something we perhaps should be looking at?
Oh, I agree. Let's try and keep the driveway and play areas separate, and a simple solution would be to keep them fenced. But if that's not a possibility, parents, we need to be really checking and supervising children around vehicles anywhere, driveways, playgrounds, car parks, anywhere.
The $5 Stewart Island visitor levy introduced 5 months ago has netted $68,000 in revenue so far. Flight, ferry and cruise ship collect the levy and the ticketed price for non-exempt passengers, while independent travellers pay at a collection point on the island. Around $175,000 of levy income's anticipated each year, which is to be spent on services or facilities for island visitors or used to mitigate their effects. Applications for funding infrastructure projects open this week.
We've had a very positive response actually. We've had some people making a voluntary contribution to the island, so contributing more than their $5, which is really quite astounding and a really good testament to how well it's being received.
Is it likely that some are slipping through the loops here?
It's always possible, and we hope not. But it is an honesty-based system, and we're hoping that the experience offered on Stewart Island encourages people to comply with that. We do have a bylaw in place, so we are hoping to use the carrot approach rather than the stick, but we do have opportunities to enforce if we have indications that people aren't paying up. So Venture Southland will be managing the administration side of the applications. Applications will go to Venture for collation. From there, we'll have a technical advisory group who will make recommendations on the viability of the projects that are being proposed. And then we have the Stewart Island Rakura Visitor Levy Committee who will be making the final decision on whether or not money will be allocated and whether that will be in part or in full.
Will those allocations be capped?
We're hoping to encourage new and exciting ideas, so we don't want to cramp those too much for the start. But as we've said, there's only the 68,000 in the pot at the moment, so we're hoping that people are mindful of that and make their applications in consideration of the fact that we would like to get a lot of initiatives up and running. So we won't be allocating the whole lot to one person or anything like that.
Stay with us. Up after the break, American-based singer-songwriter Jackie Bristow's back in the South ahead of tonight's Southland Entertainer of the Year Awards. Welcome back. NovaPay, the web-based payroll system for state and state-integrated schools, continues to cause problems, according to a new survey by NZEI Te Riu Roa. NZEI recently surveyed 30 schools by phone and say 25 or 80% reported serious issues with NovaPay. Problems were varied and included issues with tax, non-payment, overpayment, holiday pay and support staff payments. The slow response time of the NovaPay helpline and staff were also criticised, with paperwork another major gripe. 2 weeks ago, Education Minister Stephen Joyce said scrapping NovaPay would create even more problems, with government spending $28 million on the system so far. Los Angeles-based singer-songwriter Jackie Bristow is back in the country to tour, catch up with friends and family and play a set at tonight's Entertainer of the Year Awards. The internationally renowned performer will also accept the role of Southland's International Music Ambassador at tonight's awards ceremony. Hunter Andrews asked her about her busy year, which included supporting Bonnie Raitt.
Since being in Invercargill last year, I did a little tour of New Zealand, and then I went out on the road with Bonnie Raitt as her opening act, which was pretty exciting because she's one of my idols. And then went back to America, went down to Austin and packed up my life and drove through to California. And I've had touring Southern California and Northern California, and then also shows back in Texas and New Orleans and Colorado. So yeah, I've had like 4 major tours in the last sort of 5 tours in the last year. So how's that sound?
Very hectic. It sounds very hectic, but are you recording or writing to record?
Yeah, that's been a big thing, is making the time to get a new album and raise the money for the album as well. So because I moved, it was a big move, and I just didn't get time last year. I was intending on doing my record, but I'm going to do a new album this year. Yeah. And
the reason you're here, besides visiting family, of course, which is all important, the Southland Entertainer of the Year Awards.
Yeah, so it's been very nice to get the recognition from the Southland Musicians Club and the Ambassador Award.
And great to catch up with what's happening in the local music entertainment scene as well.
Yeah, well, there's always been a lot of music here, a lot of talent, so I'm going to hear lots of people sing tonight and see some old faces, because my sister and I, Katrina, grew up singing in the country music world from the age of 10 or 11, so I think there's quite a few people from that era that are going to be there tonight too.
And if people don't get to the awards tonight, you are back, aren't you, later this month?
Yeah, next week I'm playing in Invercargill, and I have the Waverley Park School with about 30 kids come to sing with me at the Christian Centre on the 19th, and my guitarist Mike Punch is over from Australia too, so it'll be a nice show, so please come down.
Summer's gone, winter's coming on. I can feel a cold front blowing, and I don't see the fog lifting. Nothing is black or white, and there is grey in the light, and everybody's got their poison.
And it's great to have Jackie back in the south again. One class of third-year SIT marketing students are on the promotional fast track with their latest practical assignment promoting this Sunday's Wyndham race meeting. Tutor Patrice Spencer-Humm has a connection with the racing industry and saw Sunday's Wyndham races as an ideal opportunity to test her students' practical marketing abilities. The students have their work cut out for them as the smaller country race meetings have suffered in recent years to attract the numbers they once did.
Basically, the students have had to think outside the square and innovatively, and they've gone about and also
on a budget too.
And on a budget, so they've had a really limited budget, and they've basically gone out, put flyers around town, made signage, gone to the A&P show. They've also gone to the Wild Food Festival and promoted there as well. And thank you to those organisers who let them to come and do that. That was wonderful. So they've gone to local events and promoted as much as possible. Part of the assessment is customer feedback, because that's paramount in events, is that we're keeping customers happy and they want to come back. So the students have divided a customer feedback form, and basically the students are going to go around on the day getting clients, participants to fill that out, and then we come back and collate it.
How important is it that they're actually promoting a real event, that they're actually getting the feel of a real race meet and the promotion of it?
I think it's really good, because I think in events basically you can get chucked anything. So one day the event you might be doing this, the next day you could be doing an interview or whatever. So it's been really good for them. I think they've got the real life experience of actually going and doing it, and I think that's been really important, because up until now, and they've done a lot of academic, now they're finally starting to do some practical, so it's been really good for them.
We're about to ask the students what they think. What's their feedback been to you though?
Oh, I think they've really enjoyed it. I think it's been good for them because it's been practical, and it's been, I suppose, really experimental learning, which is where I think education is trying to move towards, is that whole experimental, so you're actually learning to do it by the experience. So this has been perfect for that.
And interesting for the international students, we're dealing with something that is quite uniquely New Zealand, a small country race meet.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of them haven't even been to the races. So for New Zealanders who...
Which is the problem we're trying to solve.
That's right. So that's exactly right. So for a lot of people like Kiwis, we're pretty much born up going to the races. Well, I know I was. But for internationals, they're like, well, I've never even been to the races. So for them, even that's different and a different experience.
This exercise gives me an opportunity to involve in a real event, and also I can get some practical experience from this, and also I can learn some skills about leadership.
It was so interesting, and we gained so much knowledge about this, and it helps us a lot to improve our event management skills. So it was a really great experience, and we are really happy to be there on Sunday and work for them.
Yes, you'll be looking forward to the meet, of course, after all this work.
Yeah, definitely. We are really surprised about what's going to be happened and how it's going to be there. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
And that's all from the news desk tonight. Weather's up next, followed by sport. From the news team, good night.